So student loan forgiveness. So this is something that's being talked about right now. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the stimulus package, the infrastructure bill. We'll talk a little bit about that first, and then we'll get into this student loan debate. So you have progressives and you have President Biden. And right now, it doesn't look like President Biden wants to move forward with the progressive plan for student loan forgiveness. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, on this channel, we talk about news that makes you money. If that sounds like something interesting to you, please hit the like button. Also, please subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell notification. That way you'll get notified anytime we put out a video. Now let's hear a word from our sponsor, Magic Spoon. Do you ever wonder why you grew up, but your cereal didn't? Magic Spoon reimagines the same sweet deliciousness of your favorite childhood cereal with premium ingredients, complete protein, and no gluten or grains. Each box contains more protein than a dozen eggs and fewer net carbs than a typical fruit smoothie, but it's so much more fun to eat. Magic Spoon is a high-protein, keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, wheat-free, naturally flavored, totally delicious, childlike cereal for grown-ups. Use promo code TEC and receive free shipping now. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit about where we are when it comes to the infrastructure bills and the stimulus package. So right now, we're still looking at this first infrastructure bill. They're still negotiating. We haven't heard anything come back from Republicans when it comes to how much. So right now, Republicans are at about $568 billion. The president, the White House, at this point, they're at about $1.7 trillion. Now, this is the first infrastructure package. So you have the first infrastructure bill, which is going to be roads, bridges, broadband, and then we're going to move into the human infrastructure, so the American Families Plan. And then at that point, then we're going to be looking at a budget bill. Okay, so this budget bill is going to be for 2022. That could include a stimulus package. We don't know yet. We'll have to look and see what the economy is showing us. And at that point, then they can move forward with maybe another stimulus package, which could include more stimulus checks. Now, the American Families Plan. So in that American Families Plan, they also have an opportunity to add things to that. So they can add stimulus checks. They can add more money. So extend out the enhanced unemployment. They're already talking about extending the child tax credit. So these are some of the things that are on the table right now. So we're just going to have to follow it and see where it goes. So now I want to take a look at the student loan forgiveness. We're going to take a look and a listen to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. So AOC, she's going to be talking a little bit about the progressive student loan and where she thinks they are right now when it comes to it making this a reality. Here we go.
You know, I'm knocking on wood here, but there has been broad consensus that he does in fact have this legal authority. And so he's asking the Department of Education to issue a brief and essentially acknowledge formally in a documented form that he does in fact have, I believe, and I sincerely do believe that they will tell him that he does in fact have the legal authority to cancel student loan debt. And so what does this mean now? Where are we at right now? He has asked the Department of Education to issue this review and brief. And last I checked, I believe that they're in the process of developing that brief and review. And I believe that once the Department of Education comes back, again, knock on wood, but very hopefully saying that he does in fact have the legal authority to cancel student loan debt, he can do it without Congress, with the stroke of his pen. Then once they release that brief, then it's on us to then triple down on our organizing and to get him to do it. He has expressed some talk around a $10,000 level. I don't think that that's enough. We need to push him. I believe in full student loan debt cancellation, but we have to push him to, at the bare minimum, a floor of $50,000 that Senator Warren and Senator Schumer have also advanced. And $50,000, I believe, would cancel about 80% of the student loan debt in the country. I believe in a higher threshold because, frankly, I believe that our doctors and our lawyers and folks that have been in legal professions, academia, professors, etc. I believe that they should also be eligible to have their student loan debt canceled. And And so I think that that's something that's extraordinarily important. I don't believe anybody should be having $300,000, $200,000 in student loan debt. I think it's just completely unconscionable for a nation, particularly that wants to not only advance higher education, but we have to make it financially possible for everyday people so that we can educate our own workforce to the level that the 21st century demands. So that's an update that we have on student loan debt cancellation. Once we find out or get that, once we get any sort of update from the Department of Education on Biden's legal authority, we will be sure to include that in a newsletter so that you all can get calling and to say, well, you have the authority, you have the support. It's enormously popular, so let's do it.
Okay, so that was AOC there talking about the student loan forgiveness, and she's talking about the Department of Education. They're trying to find out, does the president have legal authority to do an executive order that will wipe out student loan debt? And so that's where we are right now. Now, the way that I look at this, now when the initial talk was about $10,000 of forgiveness. And it looks like AOC and some other progressives, they want it to be 50,000, or even AOC said she wants to wipe it out entirely. And so I do have a few issues with some of the talk, because we have to face reality here. This could be one of those situations where something like student loan forgiveness. Now, at the level of 10,000, I would think that would be an okay situation. That would give some people, they would be able to get out of debt a little bit. Okay. Now, if you completely wipe out student loan debt, what will happen with these universities, these colleges? They'll probably raise their rates. And so this is a one-time deal. So if you're in college right now and you have student loan debt and they wipe out that student loan debt, well, then now you're in a situation where, let's say 10 years down the road, people are going to continue going to college, and these schools are going to be raising the rates again. And I think the problem is not with the fact that people are getting, they're getting these loans. It's the fact that the schools are charging way too much for an education. And so that's what we need to focus on. Schools just charging enormous amounts. Like when I went to school, it was ridiculous how much I was paying to go to school. Not only paying for my tuition, but also paying for the room and board. I mean, I'm paying at the time, it was like $750, $800 for a room that was half the size of like a normal bedroom, because there were two of us in there. And so when you start looking at situations like that, where you're paying, I mean, realistically, I should have been paying maybe $300 or $400. I'm paying twice that to have a room that was half the size of a normal sized bedroom. And so I think that's where we should be focused. We should be focused on these schools that are charging way too much money. And at the time when I went to college, we didn't have, we had internet, but it was just really getting started. So as far as books, you had to go into the bookstore, you had to buy books, and usually you had to buy a book that was a $200 book, and you could only use it for a semester. And then you had to sell it back, and they only give you not even half. They give you like 30% of what you paid for it initially. So, looking at this whole situation, we have a problem with schools overcharging the students. That's the reality. Now, when it comes to President Biden, President Biden says he does not support a progressive student loan forgiveness. Okay, he said progressive. So that doesn't mean that he doesn't support student loan forgiveness. That just means at the progressive end. He's not talking about the $50,000 or the $70,000 forgiveness. He's talking more about the $10,000 forgiveness. So we'll see what the Department of Education comes down with. And if they do come down and say that the president does have the authority via executive order to get this done, well, then maybe the president will exercise that. But we also have Congress. Okay, so these Congress people that are talking right now about the president needs to do this, or we want the president to do this through executive order, they also have the ability to do it. Okay, they carry the purse strings, so they have the money, so they can say, okay, we're going to wipe out student loans for $50,000 worth of student loans. They can do that. They just need to get it through Congress. So we're going to have to follow this and see where it goes. But at this point, I think if it was a forgiveness of $10,000, I think that's reasonable. But when you start looking at amounts that are higher than that, $50,000 or even wiping out all student loan debt, I think that's going a little too far. I really do. And we'll have to see what President Biden ends up doing or ends up saying about this if he wants to move forward with executive order, if he does have that authority to do that. But it's just interesting. We can't be in a situation where if we do wipe out all student loan debt, then what happens next? What happens with the students that are in school right now? What happens with students that will be going to school? Because I really fear that you're going to have colleges and institutions saying, "Oh, okay, well they're waiving all the student loan debt, so let's go ahead and raise the rates." And we can always tell them, you know what? Maybe 5 years down the road, president will come in and he'll waive all that student loan debt, so you don't have to worry about that. So I don't know if this is an avenue that we want to move down, but I want to know what you guys think about this. So let me know down below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye.